Morning and welcome. I'm Reverend Dion Hall from Grace United Methodist Church here in Hagerstown. Let us be in an attitude of reverence and silence. Creator, sustainer, gracious and loving God, you who formed us and sent us here to this very day and this very time, we are grateful for your call to be here, to be your servants and servants of the people of Washington County. We give you thanks for those who are here before us to represent us in our needs. We give you thanks for those who have come to speak their needs into existence. We ask that as we go forth in this meeting today, we go forth in a spirit and attitude of reconciliation, acknowledgement of concerns being brought, and in deference to the one who has sent us here to come together, to work together. We ask this in the name of you who have sent us. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. With that, call our meeting officially to order, and at this time I'll ask for a motion for approval of the minutes for January the 14th.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion second. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you. Commissioners' reports and comments. Commissioner Wagner, you're looking at me.
Morning. Thank you all for coming this morning, attending the meeting. I don't have a whole lot. I wanted to thank, we had the State of the County previous to this meeting. The Chamber's event and I want to thank the Chamber for doing that event. I want to thank Meritus. It was a beautiful building. That's a new training hospital. We had it in the main room as you walk in. It's a very nice building. And then I want to thank our staff for being there, showing support, and we had a lot of staff there too. Other than that, I couldn't attend, but I want to congratulate all the Hancock Fire for all their awards and the service they do to our community on their banquet this past week. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. I'll jump to the other side. Commissioner Kiefer.
Yeah, I'll just echo some of Commissioner Wagner's comments. I love the venue. That was a beautiful building that we have coming to Washington County, the School of Osteopathic Medicine, the academic hall. Just thinking about all the things that would be learned in there, that's going to hopefully save lives in our community and communities across the country. And it reminded me a call that I made last year when we spoke at the State of the County. Our tagline, live, work, play, is great, but I think it needs extended to live, learn, work, play. We have some great schools in our community, our public school system, Hagerstown Community College, and now Meritus School of Medicine. We're a place to learn, and I think maybe we need to recognize that.
University of Maryland.
USMH, yeah, where I went to school. That's all I have.
And PIA.
And PIA. Oh, so many more.
Yep. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that.
No, you're absolutely, you're just underscoring my reason. Live, learn, work, play. Maybe should be our new tagline.
Yep.
That's all I have.
Commissioner Harvey.
Yeah,
Thank you, President Barr. I think we had a very good meeting with Morgansville last week, and was really good to get the input from the city there, and thanks to the Ruritan and the community leaders there for everything that they did, the issues they brought up, and I do hope the staff is working to get some of the answers back to them. If you could give us some feedback, Michelle, as to when the loop is closed on some of those.
Okay.
And then Groundhog Day event was, well attended on Friday night out at the Ag Center, and good job by our staff and the publicity for that. It was an outstanding event.
Did the groundhog see a shadow down there? You have any reports on that?
I didn't pay attention to that part of it, but I was socializing and enjoying some of the food and stuff there. And, John Barr was there, and he was dressed up to the nines, I'll tell you that, as he does with another odd combination of a suit. So
What can I say? It made everybody
it was a talking point, I'll say that. So that was a great event, and thanks to the staff for what they did. And then, we had the Hancock Awards banquet for their fire hall, and I think, Jeff will talk more about that. But again, the auxiliary there, the ladies' auxiliary, the effort by all the volunteers, the number of missions that people go out on, the amount of time, the leadership there that's focused and dedicated on responding, and then our own DES staff and others that contribute out there now too. A lot of progress in Hancock. So as we heard this morning, at the State of the County, we've been working really well with Hancock, and I think Wayne has been a part of that effort to make sure that Hancock gets supported. So thank you, Wayne, for what you've done there. I'd like to shift gears here just a little bit because for several months now, we've been, having some, I think, highlights here at the commissioners' meeting that, have not been good for the county. I've reflected over the last couple of years on my votes here, and I think there have only been 2 votes, one each year, where I have differed from Randy and Jeff. And both of those were on the same issue. I could be wrong, but I think it's only that one vote on whether or not we should raise the debt and borrow more money each year to the tune of $15 or $16 billion. And on principle, I would like us to not borrow more and to work on paying down the debt. I'm for borrowing if we're going to, get a large bond for something like a new courthouse or something like that. But I say that because, I don't like to see personal attacks. It undermines the unity of effort and unity of purpose in our county. It creates a bad image on the Board of Commissioners. Personal attacks that are isolated from substance are unfortunate, and it creates harm to the individuals that are being attacked, especially if they were attacked for things that happened decades ago, okay? So it's unfortunate, and I feel for my partners up here that have been personally attacked needlessly. I'm all for criticism of the votes and the policies and our diagnoses and things like that. I think we should be open to that. Getting a diagnosis right is what helps us get to the right solution. But it undermines, needless attacks might draw attention, but it's not the kind of attention that I think helps us build better governance and a better community. I'm for highlighting things where we have a problem in Freedom of Information Acts or getting some information out on something like, what really happened with the denial of service. And I think that type of criticism has led to us getting those responses out. But there's a way to do that that is cordial, respectful of people and of values. And I think that's important. I'd also like to say something, just remind people that, I am a person who posts a lot of information on social media, on Twitter, and on Truth Social about national political issues. And that should be no surprise because I've been doing that for a decade before I even became an elected official. I travel the country and I continue to travel the country to give public speeches on events of the day, weaponization of government, the China threat, Middle East peace issues, economic issues, and that is one of the ways that I earn an income too. I worked for the Trump White House, and I led the investigations into the Russia hoax, weaponization of the FBI. So that, and I used to be contracted to work for NPR, PBS NewsHour as a regular commentator, as well as others. So I'm used to being out there on the national stage. So when people identify me as being MAGA or being an outspoken Republican, there's a reason for that because I am, and I have a track record, and I'm very comfortable with that. that is not really an important role for my fellow county commissioners or others to do. Because when you're out front like that, you do take flack, you do get attacked too, in a different way. But you should not be criticized because you are not out there posting and saying things about the United States Agency for International Development, or about corruption in the FBI, or some other issue. So I just think that, at the end of the day, I believe in the Reagan 11th commandment, which is we should not criticize fellow Republicans in personal attacks, and that's disagreeing on issues, maybe on a value issue, but there's a way to communicate it, and there's a way to make it constructive. And I think we need to, as a community, work harder on that and not give credence to those types of attacks. So I've said what I had to say, and, I appreciate the strength and character of my fellow commissioners who've had to withstand some of those attacks. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Klein?
Good morning. Thank you, Commissioner Harvey, for your comments. I think we've always been collegiate, even when we've had disagreements, and I think over the past 2 years, we've always worked together to come out for a solution that eventually benefits all of Washington County. In regards to the borrowing money, we're always given a range by the bond agencies from a low range to a high range, which we could do to maintain our 3 AA+ bond ratings that we've had for 12, 13 consecutive years. So we're all very proud of that. I think we all have the same mission. It's how well we work there. So thank you for those comments. I want to thank the people at Morgansville Ruritan for allowing us to have a meeting out there, and for staff who was in attendance. They answer a lot of questions that we can't, because they deal with these issues day in and day out. Also want to congratulate and thank the Hancock Volunteer Fire Department for their awards appreciation banquet, is which they call it. They thank the commissioners and our DES staff up there that's contributing to the safety of that community. And I want to thank the folks who organized the State of the County, from our staff to Meredith to the Chamber. It was a good event, all positive conversations that I had with people. But on a somber note, I have to mention this. Charles Schindel passed away over the weekend. He was a 72-plus year volunteer at the Morgansville Goodwill Fire Company. And back in September of last year, the CRS station opened in Morgansville. And in a ceremony to honor his 72-plus years of service to this community, they named an ambulance after him. He'll be missed. In his later years, he was a good confidant and mentor for all the younger firefighters out there. He surely was a valuable member, a hero to our community. That completes.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners. I think this morning's comments have been very relevant and very important, and honored and proud to serve with all 4 of you. And I think it speaks well to our community. I'd like to thank the pastor for being here this morning to give the invocation. I know I took a little rib there. Groundhog Day was fun. I was the unofficial greeter at the door in my outfit, I guess you would call it. So it's become the official.
Retire, expect that to be on
The suit has been put away. It'll be brought out next year on February the 1st for Groundhog Day next year. Likewise, the hat, the top hat. So I was challenged at the Groundhog event Friday night that I certainly wouldn't wear it on Groundhog Day, which was Sunday. I did. I wore it to church, and I got a congregational chuckle out of it, and even the pastor laughed. So it was a good weekend. It was a lot of fun. Also, I'd like to thank the community of Morgansville. They're not a municipality. They don't have an official mayor and council, but we sometimes have our best turnouts at Morgansville. And one of the concerns, questions, if you will, was traffic at Morgansville School at drop-off and pickup time. And ironically, the very next day, I was on Pennsylvania Avenue, and don't know whether they were coming or going, but the parents were all lined up all the way up Pennsylvania Avenue, almost to the Health Department, Earl, and I'm like, whoa. And I guess my comment is, it's not just Morgansville, it's not just Fountaindale School, it's all the, it seems like elementary and sometimes junior high schools, parents are lined up. It is a traffic jam, and to all the citizens of Washington County, it's our current culture for parents and grandparents to pick up their children, drop their children off, and when they're lined up like that, please slow down. Please be careful. Please be mindful that when there's that many cars in a row, that maybe some students that are all excited run out between them. So it's not just Morgansville, it's probably all the elementary schools. And just a plea out there to the citizens of Washington County at those couple times a day that the traffic, you just need to slow down and be careful. So I know there's a few other things. I did attend Honey Baked Ham grand opening. The city's and the county's PR department did a fantastic job with that. It was a tremendous, great turnout. Thanks to the co-owners of the local Honey Baked Ham. I think I recall them saying this is their 22nd franchise. They gave a check to the local Salvation Army for $1,500 to kind of kick off their corporate responsibility in this community. And from all appearances, they're going to be well suited for us, and hopefully we support them. So, Honey Baked Ham out at the mall, or actually the shopping center there on Westfield Boulevard. So, I will be in Annapolis all day tomorrow. The MACO meetings in the morning and State of the State at noontime tomorrow. So. With that, have we missed anything, gentlemen? With that, we'll move right along into staff comments, and Michelle Gordon.
Thank you. I did attend several legislative meetings with MACO and our delegation. I attended a Maryland Theater Board meeting last week. I also attended our Groundhog Day event. It's one of the most well-attended events that I had seen so far. I'd like to thank Kelsey Cadle, our Department of Business and Economic Development, and our staff for coordinating that event. It was a huge success. Also attended our State of the County this morning. I wanted to remind our residents and our viewers that it is available online. Please take some time to view it. It's about 28 minutes long, but it's a wonderful compilation of the accomplishments that the county has had over the last year and some of the things that we plan for the next year. I also attended the Morgansville meeting. Majority of their questions and concerns revolved around transportation-related issues, and those will be discussed at our Transportation Advisory Commission. I have already sent them information related to crime statistics in Morgansville. I'll forward that to the commissioners once we get back to the office, and then I'll check on the rest of their questions. And that's everything that I have.
Okay, thank you. Any other staff comments this morning? Hearing none, we'll move right into citizens' participation. And once again, this is an opportunity for citizens to comment about an issue or issues of county practices and interests. This is not an interactive dialogue or question and answer session. It is solely time to hear from our citizens and their concerns. And again, please limit your remarks to 3 minutes or less, and we greatly appreciate we do have a schedule to keep. Citizens' participation this morning? Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Curtis Ray. I live at 17918 College Road, Hagerstown, Maryland. I would like to state on the record here that I'm currently going to try and run for the county commissioner where Wayne Kiefer will be retiring. I want to take the time here also to state that the debt that this county has is pretty bad. I took time out of my day to look back in the past 15 years that is public record currently for the county records. from 2013 to 2021, I have all the debt balance from all those years, and it was following a trend of about $3 million per year increase of our debt, starting from 2013, which was $199 million, to 2021 to $210 million. The reason it is only to 2021 is because, for some reason, the debt balance sheet that was on every year up from 2013 to 2021 was gotten rid of. So there's currently no longer a debt balance sheet on the yearly records. And then a major problem that I've started seeing was that the bonds are now classified as revenue. So basically, if you sell the bonds, let's say for $20 million, that counts as $20 million of revenue to the county. You basically just took $20 million of debt, but counted it as revenue, which is insane. So in 2017, there's a graph that depicted a payback plan in one of the yearly quarters, which was 2017, and it came up with us paying off the debt, which was at $205 million. By 2025, with this repayment plan, it would have been to $95 million, okay? And then with it all being paid off by 2037. Now, in our 2025 first quarter report, it has us paying it back by about $15 million a year. The only issue with it is we would actually have to pay back $30 million a year to pay for the bonds that we took out from the prior years and then pay 15 towards the actual debt. So by doing so, if we don't take out the bonds, our revenue would actually drop by 18, let's say 15 million, and then our expenditure would go up by an additional 15 million. So that would say that we're actually now in the red. Currently, our revenue and our expenditure are about deadlocked. I think it was like 408 million revenue with 408 million expenditure. And then, right here. I have a major issue with trying to find where our actual debt starts happening in 2021 to 2025, but I do have a rough number of 192 million. I won't try and take up the rest of y'all's time, but currently there is a major issue with our debt, and the difference from 2012 to 2025 from the amount that we paid back was only 7 million. That's the only difference. In 12 years, we made a $7 million dent into our about $195 million of bond debt. And I think that's pretty outrageous currently. I'm not blaming anybody. I just think that we need to start budgeting to pay back this debt instead of taking out more debt. Thank you for your all's time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Ray. Citizens' participation?
Remark. But before I begin, I have a gift for you. I am asking you to consider if you're able to give this to the library. Have it framed. I've been a little disheartened by the recent gentleman bringing in the poster in his remarks. This is my anti-theft device. It says national security is my and everybody's business. But then I turned it into a thank you card when I was able to go to the library and didn't know who specifically to thank, to the citizens responders that helped save my life the day I got run over by the car in front of the library. And it just says, thank you, neighborhood watch and citizens responders, gratitude, pass it on. And so this is a gift. And I did spray it with Lysol once, but you might want to respray it.
Thank you, Steph.
You're welcome. Maybe you can put that in the historical room there. My name is Stephanie Phillips. These are my last remarks. When I was young, my mother wrote a letter to the president. I asked her why. She said, because I can ask for help from my political officials. when the federal government was trying to eminent domain my family's ancestral mountaintop, retired teacher said, ask your congressman. When I started studying genealogy, hostilities began to increase. I am a military family, so I further followed directions and started asking for help in this matter. I went to a politician's office and they said, go write a letter. I did that, I returned in an hour, and this is the letter. Only 1/3 was the help I personally requested. Please schedule a meeting with representatives from the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Central Intelligence Agency in an FBI building to authenticate participants and discuss my family's problems with the national security classification are causing, but not limited to, attempts on my life, serious acts of intimidation, my being turned into the equivalent of a surrogate producing a child who interned at the U.S. Capitol for Senator Edward Kennedy, and restrictions, violations of civil liberties should be afforded to me by the United States Constitution. Okay, and I offered locally to help. We need to address the problem of our civil servants, teachers, police officers, firemen, EMS, healthcare workers being recruited to other counties and other states. The Mid-Atlantic region should work together cooperatively rather than competitively for the good of our children. In addition, reproductive health should be taught the same school year nationwide so no student misses this education due to moving. In addition, divorce laws and marriage education prerequisites in the Mid-Atlantic should be standardized so no child gets moved for this reason, and we do have a shortage of affordable housing. Nationally, I could testify in a federal whistleblower racketeering case. We need to challenge the United States Supreme Court to consider rewriting all references to the word God to be replaced by the term creator, to properly define marriage and civil unions to afford the same rights to legal civil unions. In the office of state governor can be standardized, so can this. Lastly, I would like to propose that high school students with their teachers hand count paper ballots, a value lesson in democracy, and suggest that media should not be allowed to report until polls are closed and votes are tallied. Lastly, International World Peace Day taught to me in Berkeley County, West Virginia, school system is September 21st. Please add to the calendar and consider celebrating it. Thank you.
Thank you. Other citizens' participation this morning? Last call. Before we move to the next item, I did overlook something here this morning. In my remarks, I usually give upcoming events. There's 4. The Ice Cream Trail favorite for 2024 will be held at Nutter's Ice Cream, Main Street, Sharpsburg, tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Grand opening of the Ritchie Rations General Store up at Cascade, the old Fort Ritchie, is Friday, this Friday the 7th at 11. Community Rescue Service Anniversary Banquet will be held at Fountainhead Country Club Saturday evening. And the Community Free Clinic 35th anniversary, having a masquerade gala, is also this Saturday evening, February the 8th at 5:30 p.m. And that is at the Maryland Theater. With that, if there's nothing else to come before us, I'd like to ask for a motion to go to convene as the Board of Health.
Motion to convene as Board of Health.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. 5-0. Good morning, Earl.
Good morning. Earl Stoner, Health Officer for the Health Department. And I am here today recommending that the Board of Health approve the award of a contract to Way Station of Washington County in the amount of $119,813. It's for their crisis response program. It's federal monies that come down for that through the state. And basically what that does is they're the primary individuals who respond from a crisis standpoint. Here at the health department, we respond during work hours, but they are primarily the individuals who are responding really 24/7, and especially during those off hours, trying to de-escalate situations, working with EMS, working with law enforcement, to try to de-escalate and divert people from going to the emergency room and using up emergency medical resources.
Have you had this in the past?
Yes, it's a
How-
continuation.
Okay, how have you assessed its effectiveness?
We have assessed the effectiveness by, we have data. I will tell you that it's not necessarily lowering numbers. It is stemming the tide from the standpoint of basically we would be inundated. The hospital would be inundated with calls from a crisis perspective if we didn't have this program in place. So, do we have significant issue? Yes. Is this lowering that issue? From a data perspective, no.
Do you track the number of engagements you have? Okay, and then the question is, what's the outcome of the engagements? Do you track that? You don't have to go through it all, but if you could share that with us later.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be appreciated.
Sure. We have all that.
Okay. Motion to approve it?
We have a motion and a second to approve as submitted. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to go back in as Board of County Commissioners. Motion and a second to reconvene. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, 5-0. Thank you. Next item is Washington County Commission on Aging / Area Agency on Aging's FY 2026 budget presentation.
Before we get started, I just want to correct something on the agenda. There is a recommended motion. Because this is just the 26 budget presentation, there are no motions needed today. And it's also unwise for the board to commit future commissions to an allocation of that amount. So I just want to let you know that there's no vote today. This is just a normal fiscal year 26 budget presentation, and their budget request will be considered as part of the 26 budget.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm Amy Olak, the CEO of the Commission on Aging.
Morning. I'm Ed Loeb, the current president of the board of the Washington County Commission on Aging. Let me start by giving the Board of Commissioners information on our 2024 facts. 10,500 individuals were served through 12 different umbrellas, programs, and services, primarily guided by the Older Americans Act. 52,533 meals were provided to over 500 older adults via all of our nutrition programs. $1,632,314 in benefits were distributed to older adults, caregivers, and those with disabilities. Of that, more than $500,000 was related to the Medicare Part D prescription coverage during the open enrollment October 15th through December 7th. 90,843 phone calls were handled through the landlines, and that doesn't include the calls that came in on the cell phone volume. 24/7 guardianship services were provided to 29 court-appointed wards. We're basically funded to handle 20, and we have 29, and we believe there are maybe one or two more coming. The Ombudsman advocated for residents in 10 nursing homes and 19 assisted living facilities, investigating 182 complaints and providing assistance to about 1,600 individuals. The Maryland Access Point helped over 4,500 clients with, and that's our interview intake service, to determine program eligibility and assist in completing necessary applications. Older Americans Act programs provided homemaker, chore, personal care, legal assistance, and case management to 412 older adults. The state health insurance program, SHIP, supported 916 individuals with Medicare-related questions and support. Senior Medicare Patrol educated and provided services to 655 older adults about healthcare fraud and how to spot healthcare fraud. The Senior Assisted Living Subsidy Program helped 22 individuals with financial support and case management to live in small assisted living communities like Holly Place and Charlotte's Home. Caregiver programs. Thank you. Caregiver programs provided support to caregivers for older adults as well as older adults who are caregivers themselves, including grandparents caring for grandchildren. In 2024, the state approved the CEO's request to launch the LEQ pilot program, which is a new initiative using artificial intelligence to support older adults in their home in an effort to determine whether robotic technology can reduce caregiver burden. The Community Care Hub served over 700 individuals this year, partnering with organizations like CASA, Community Action Council, Western Maryland Consortium, DSS, Meritus, Washington County Library, and the Health Department to provide on-site support for all ages in one location. 1,498 active senior members engaged in a variety of activities at the Senior Center, and we certainly owe much of our success to the 230 volunteers who helped make all of this possible. Several years back, the county commissioners asked us to engage in fundraising, which we had not done. We took that seriously and have been engaging in that. In 2024, we came together and to support a variety of fundraising efforts, and we raised over $170,000. The highlights included our gala, our annual campaign. We had a 30-day Meals on Wheels challenge, and we had the launch of our Herc Lane Jr. Legacy Endowment. Mr. Lane was a prior recipient of our services. So we look forward to our next gala, which is Saturday, April the 5th at St. James School. I want to give a special thanks to Father Dunnan and his team for partnering with us on this event again. And we ask you all to mark your calendars and join us on Saturday, April the 5th. There are sponsorship opportunities available as well. And we do have a handout and invitations to give you today before we leave. Or we can hand them out now and you can pass them down. That'd be great. Thank you. This time I will turn conversation over to Amy Olak. Amy?
Hello, commissioners and community. I just want to mention that today I'm going to talk a little bit about the challenges that we face, and I'm going to try to consolidate those. But our services are in part to be really about enhancing the quality of life of the people we serve, the older adults, those with disabilities regardless of age, and caregivers. You know, we face the fastest growing challenge across our country, and that's serving older adults who are growing every day. These challenges impact our service delivery, our staffing, our funding, and legal compliance. This is not unique to us here in Washington County. These challenges are shared with area agencies on aging nationwide. But unfortunately, it hinders our ability to meet the increasing demand. So I'm going to address today 4 areas of concern. The first is funding instability and sustainability. Our reimbursable funding model through the state and federal government creates cash flow challenges due to delays in the reimbursement process. For instance, when the freeze took effect, which is now released for us, we were awaiting over $300,000 in payments from the state and federal government from services we provide back to October of '24. In fact, we just recently got reimbursed for a 2023 reimbursement for services provided. The expiration of the American Rescue Plan funds and the expected budget cuts further threaten the service sustainability. Grant funds remain competitive, often focusing on capital projects rather than critical services like our nutrition programs or caregiver supports. The second area is staffing shortages and retention struggles. Recruitment and retention remain difficult to low salaries and high turnover. Although a market adjustment was approved by our board of directors, all of our employees receive less than the 50th percentile of all regional pay scales. The programs like the Maryland Access Point or interview intake process is an extensive training program that lasts over a year, which when they're finished, the process makes them highly attractive to our competitors. Our starting rate is $16 an hour. Over about 1 year, that employee who starts out with us becomes certified as a state health insurance program counselor, certified in AIRS, certified engaged dementia care, and a certified community health worker. MAP employees must complete significant amounts of state and federal training to meet the qualifications of their role. This long and intensive training process makes our MAP employees highly attractive to other employers, resulting in high turnover rates and further staffing challenges. The need for continued education and certification creates a barrier for staffing continuity, and the time investment required for each hire to become fully trained compounds retention issues. Turnover has disrupted services, as seen in our congregate nutrition sites, where multiple program specialists were vacant at the same time, which resulted from health issues, a retirement, and an unexpected death. Additionally, many new hires have failed pre-employment screenings and leave for better paying jobs, a challenge faced by all AAAs across our nation. The third area is new program mandates. State mandate programs like the Dementia Care Navigation Program, which went into effect in 2024, add additional burdens without adequate funding. This program received state funding of approximately $28,000 to run the entire program. The Older Americans Act revised compliance standards introduce additional unfunded mandates. The 24/7 guardianship case management has become unsustainable with a part-time case manager overseeing 28 current active wards with 2 more pending, far exceeding the recommended caseload of a full-time caseworker of 20 cases per caseworker. Many of the court-appointed wards require complex medical care outside of our county due to the limited local resources. For example, Jerry Psych is not available in our county, and therefore those individuals must go to the Baltimore area to receive care. At this time, 5 of our wards are currently living in Baltimore, which requires extensive travel. And the fourth area I'd like to address is legal and administrative issues. Increasing regulatory requirements add financial and administrative strain. The final rule of the Older Americans Act, which goes into effect in October of '25, mandates policy changes and legal reviews, rising compliance costs. For example, there are new guidelines that require any contract that we enter into as the Area Agency on Aging to undergo state review and approval, which necessitates additional legal services. These rising costs are compounded by the need for constant updates to personnel and financial policies to comply with these new state and federal regulations. The guardianship program requires significant, as you may imagine, legal oversight, navigating the legal complexities of guardianship and elder law. This program includes court proceedings at which times require staff to testify, court documents, completion of medical forms, and the navigation of difficult, multifaceted health issues of our wards. The increases in legal fees for guardianship proceedings continue to rise and mirror trends across this country. These challenges, the funding instability, staffing shortages, regulatory burdens, and expanding mandates threaten our ability to meet community needs. Without increased funding and support, our waiting lists will grow and vital services could be at risk. Despite these obstacles, we remain committed to delivering quality services and advocating for sustainable solutions. We deeply appreciate our volunteers, our partners, and our donors for their continued support, and we look forward to continuing this important work together in 2025 to strengthen the services of older adults, caregivers, and individuals with disabilities with the support of this commission. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, Amy. I get the pleasure of talking about our budget request, and I'm going to do that briefly, and I'm going to do that very respectfully. First of all, I want to say that over the last 3 years, you have given us increases of 15%, 10%, and 10%. And we are very appreciative of that for the older adults in our community. However, I would ask you to refer to the handout that we gave on page 2. I'm not going to go over that. That's for your eyes only. That's just basically to give you an overview and an idea how we kind of got into the position we are today that requires me to ask you for an increase of $250,000 into our budget for this time. In reality, to be perfectly honest with you, we really need to have $250,000 increases over the next 5 years to catch up from what you see on page 2 of the handout. Okay? Again, that's for your eyes only. Even receiving that $250,000, we're still going to need an additional $800,000 plus in net assets or other grants to meet this budget request. So we will certainly continue our grant writing. We will certainly continue our fundraising efforts. If you grant us the $250,000 for the FY 2026 budget, that will increase our current cash funding. This is not counting in kind, but it will increase our cash funding from $1,170,980 to $1,420,980, a mere $140,000 additional over the 10% that we've been receiving and are most grateful for. Let me say that again. This funding request is crucial. We must maintain high-quality services for older adults, caregivers, and individuals with disabilities. We must retain and recruit employees, ensuring we can meet the needs of our community. We must remain financially viable despite the challenges posed by state and federal mandates, inflation, and other economic factors. We ask for your support to help ensure that the needs of our most vulnerable citizens continue to be met. Your vote can make a real difference in the lives of older adults in Washington County. With that, we conclude this, and I thank you for your continued past and continued support.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So, just go over the mandates, especially I think you mentioned guardianships and how they're, the demand and the increasing costs that's being mandated to supply that. Would you explain that a
Sure.
little bit more?
Sure. So typically, it is a requirement of the Older Americans Act that we provide services as the Area Agency on Aging for guardianship. These are court-appointed wards that are 65 years of age and older that do not have individuals that are able or willing to step up to provide guardianship over their care. And so I would say over the last, since I've been here and came in 2014, we averaged anywhere from 8 to 12 people max. And we ran that with a part-time guardianship care manager in place. This year is very unusual, and we are now, as I mentioned, up to 28 active with 2 more pending. And these cases are extremely complex that are coming. We have individuals who really need intensive care, both psychiatric care, mental health issues that can't be handled within our county and have to be placed outside of our county. One currently is in Sykesville, Maryland, and the rest are in Baltimore. The other 4 are in Baltimore area. And so for us, it's really about the intensity, and I'm sure Zach can talk about the court proceedings and how time-consuming it is to prepare court proceedings and testify and, you know.
Some of these guardians are called upon in the middle of the night.
Oh,
odds,
20,
so
absolutely.
it's not
We're on call. Susan and I are on call 24/7. There is no break. It's like having 29 grandparents that you're responsible for or parents.
Some of your comments have almost mirrored what the county's going through with people trying to retain our employees. We get them trained, they leave elsewhere. So I understand that. So,
It's a big expense, isn't it?
yeah, and constantly people trying to be lured away somewhere else for more money. One of the things I'd like to add, and I just asked County Administrator, I'd like to get the Commissioner's sponsorship of at least $1,000 program to have a table at your event. I think it's, whatever we decide in the future about your budget, I think that shows that we're trying to support you the best we can as a recognition of that. So if I could get a consensus to do the $1,000 table.
Yeah.
Everybody okay with that?
The funding source would be Commissioner's contingency if we have a consensus.
Okay, but
Okay.
thank you for your complete report. I appreciate the way you
absolutely.
presented it.
And thank you for that wonderful offer to have a
Yes,
$1,000
thank
table
you.
at our event.
We appreciate your support and to be present. I think that speaks volumes to be present and show your support. Thank you.
I just have a couple of questions. You know, I'm the numbers person.
Sure, sure.
Your budget request that you submitted to us, your outside agency funding request, indicates that you have a number of clients served of 6,500 plus. But your 990 indicates that individual served is around 2,000. What's the difference in that number?
The difference in that number for the 990 has to do with the Older Americans Act programs and the title services only.
What's the difference between those two?
So we have over 12 umbrellas of service that we provide services to all of our demographic, and not all of those fall under the title programs. So for example, MAP services don't follow under a title program.
Okay.
And that's the biggest chunk of the services we provide is our MAP.
Okay, and then the other question I have is a question that I brought up last year related to the number of unduplicated persons served Meals on Wheels. It's roughly around 214 last year. What's that number?
So today, we have 170 individuals receiving Meals on Wheels, 18 different routes throughout the county. And so this budget anticipates a cut in that. I'd have to go back to look at that number. I didn't bring that today, but I'm pretty sure it's roughly about 50 people being cut. And that has to do with the American Rescue Funds who are covering the remainder of the number that we're at now.
Okay, and it looks like you spend roughly $500,000 on outsourcing the cost of meals. I believe staff reached out to you last year regarding a commercial kitchen and perhaps bringing that in-house at the Commission on Aging. What are your thoughts on that?
So I would say at this point, based on our first review of that financially, it's not a financial sustainable model for our organization to do that because we would have to hold all of the insurance, all of the staffing, have purchasing power, which we don't have because it's a small amount of food that we would be procuring to provide that food. So I think those are all challenges that we would face. But at the first glance, the first budget review that we did, it was not a financial viable option for us.
The kitchen is quite small as it stands. I believe it would have to be renovated, most likely enlarged. You'd have to buy all new equipment for the kitchen because it's not designed for larger quantities, if you will. So
And
those were some of the issues.
I did also want to mention that we spoke about some additional options, whether that was an outside source coming in to work in that kitchen. If that kitchen was provided, would that cause a cost savings for a small business, for example, who could work out of that kitchen? Those were conversations that were had at the county level as well. We even talked about the HCC program that they have and some of the vendors that they have that are looking for an opportunity if that would be something. But there's no way to guarantee that that would be a financially viable response if you're going to invest in a large kitchen.
Okay, and then I guess the other thing that I noticed on your 990s is if you look at the tables that you included in your 990s, the cost expended per individual served has increased by 85% from 2021 to 2023, and most of that increase was due to Meals on Wheels. Can you explain why the cost would have increased by 85%?
So tell me what you're looking at.
I'm looking at your 990s.
From what year?
2021 through 2023.
And the cost per person increased?
Correct.
So I would say you're talking about COVID years, and you're talking about the additional costs associated with the COVID responses and the increase in food and the fact that the cost to do business was extremely higher.
Inflationary, yes. It has been.
Yes.
It hasn't been 85%, but it has been a substantial part of that.
So, and during the COVID response, because we were deemed essential, all of our services never closed, and we went to more of a service model and a food provider. And our food, the number of people being served food, if you go back and look at the number of meals provided for those years.
You did the boxes instead of meals, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And the volume was extremely increased to the number of people served.
Okay, that's everything that I have.
I just had one quick question just from that spur. Did you serve less from 21 to 23, or are you serving more from 21 to 23 in that time period?
Sure. During COVID, the highest we got to was about 12,000 unduplicated people, and we are slowly backing down from that. So I would say we're about 10,000 people at this point overall.
You said 12,000, not 12,000.
That's
12,000.
12,000 meals, not unduplicated people. There's a difference.
So 12,000 unduplicated people during the highest point of COVID.
That's not what's reported in your area agency on aging reports, though.
And that's because you're looking at the Older Americans Act reporting, which is a part of the OAPS, which is only the federal dollars. Again, MAP does not fall into that.
That creates some of the confusion when you look at things because of the way it's set up under the Older Americans Act, federal dollars, et cetera.
That's a pretty
She
big
ex-
difference
she
between
explained
200 and 12,000, though. I'm not,
Between 200 people, is that what you're saying?
right, your report shows 200 unduplicated people
And
versus 12,000.
200 overall, that has to be an incorrect number. There's no way we only serve 200 people, period, across our organization.
Unduplicated people.
There's no way. That has to be an error, and I would want to look at that, for sure.
Okay, that's
And
in
is
your
that
report.
only, but where is that located?
In your area agency on aging report.
For what quantity? I'd like to see the report. If you have it, if you could provide it for me, that would be great, because I'd love to go back and look at that. Is it just one area? Like 200 unduplicated people for meals on Meals on Wheels?
For Meals on Wheels, and I believe for all services, it was only about 600. Let's see. Meals on Wheels for 2021 showed 616 unduplicated people.
Are you looking at the area plan? Is that what you're looking at?
Yes.
Okay, that's totally different. The area plan is a budget provided to the federal government as an overview of the number of services that can be provided based on the funding that we receive. It's a budget.
For Meals on Wheels.
It's across all of the title programs, not just Meals on Wheels.
I'm just looking at the Meals on Wheels section, though.
Okay, but what I'm talking about was unduplicated people across the service of the organization at 12,000 at the highest point, not just Meals on Wheels.
Okay. Well,
So I'm happy to talk just Meals on Wheels, but I don't have those numbers in front of me. But if you provide me the number you're looking at, I'd be happy to show you what we've served each year, and I can provide you with that data. So I'm certainly willing to come back to the commissioners and provide a data report, if you want, for each year of the number of people that we provided service to for Meals on Wheels, so that you can see that. And then additional funding sources, for example, if United Way paid for meals, or we have other grants that paid for meals, things like that, that are not a part of the federal title programs, those are things that not necessarily would be in those reports.
I'm trying to find the number, but I believe the report also included the total number of programs, and I believe the number for that was around 3,000. Here it is. Unduplicated clients for all services in fiscal year '24 was 3,400. Fiscal year '23 was 2,400. So those numbers still aren't.
And you're
That's a
talking about
pretty
the title
big
programs only.
difference.
That's right, because you're talking about the federal dollars only, not our state programs, not Maryland Access Point, not our senior care, none of those senior assisted living group subsidy program, none of those are included in that number. Yep, federal only. So I'm happy to go over that, Michelle, or if you want to send your CFO or your finance team in, we're happy to go over
I
those.
think it would be important to revisit that, just to make sure that everybody's clear.
Yeah.
If I could, thank you for your presentation, and I'd like to follow up on Jeff's question about the mandates, because, I want to make sure everyone's clear that, you explained what they're having you do, but they required additional things for the Commission on Aging to do, and there's a cost to that, and the money did not follow the mandate, correct?
Correct. So as I mentioned, the dementia one, which was a state regulatory dementia care navigation, we got $28,000 to run a full program,
And the full program would take about how much?
about $80,000.
Okay, and then you had a requirement for legal, full-time lawyer or lawyer contracted requirements to do things that were not required before. So the
No
cost-
additional funding.
No additional funding for the cost of basically 1 year for a lawyer.
Correct.
Okay, so, and a lawyer, I imagine on staff, it's got to figure, it's $100,000.
And we contract that service because we can't afford to bring somebody on staff, so
I
we
know, so you
contract.
contracted, but I got to imagine it's near $100,000 when you figure what lawyers cost and availability. I'm not sure, I'm just throwing a number
Sure.
out there. And then when you're looking at your budget request to us, just to clarify, you said that training your people up so that they're certified in the areas that you need, these personnel, to be competitive, you pay $16 an hour.
That's our starting rate.
That's your starting rate. You're losing them, what are they, in order to keep your positions filled, you're losing them to people that are paying 20 or 19 or 22.
Correct.
So what's the budget number that you came up with that you need an increase in order to make yourself competitive? Is it an increase of $30,000 a year across that level of staff? Is it an increase of $60,000? And is that included? Can you give me a ballpark, Ed?
It is not included in that budget, I can tell you that.
Okay.
It is not the additional.
So that's
the
a gap that
additional-
we will still have even if you get that budget request.
Correct.
That you asked
That
for.
is correct.
That's an important element for us to understand, because it doesn't heal you
It does not.
to keep you from having to go through this churn that costs training, time, and efficiency. Your case manager, you said you have one full-time paid.
Part-time. One part-time paid.
Oh, one part-time paid, but you need another one.
We need a full-time and a part-time.
Oh, you need a full-time. To make the part-time full-time, what would that cost? What's the difference between the part-time and the full-time?
So I would have to get you exact numbers, but to make our part-time position whole, we would probably, with benefits, need close to $65,000.
And then you'd still need a part-time,
Correct.
okay? And what do you pay the part-time person on an annual basis?
Well, it would be a brand-new position.
I know, but
Yeah.
what?
I don't have that in front of me. I'd
Okay,
have
but
to get that.
currently you pay a part-time person to do case management work anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it will be roughly equivalent. So the point I'm making here is there's some actual dollar costs associated with these mandates, one, that have not been, no money has followed from the state.
Correct.
Okay?
Correct.
And two, some additional, like in the case of people that your caseload went from 20 to 28, it's going to go to 30, that's just an increase that you need more capacity for, and that takes money. When you've had communication with the state about these mandates, what have they said?
They do not have the additional funds, and remember, the guardianship, for example, is a federal mandate.
Right.
And the federal funds are not following either. Pretty much flat funding is what they are expecting at this point, but not guaranteed.
Okay, so they're fine with passing on requirements without funds.
They certainly are. That's very well said, Commissioner Harvey.
Okay.
Absolutely. I would say to you that, and if I'm interrupting you, I apologize.
No, that's fine.
That $250,000 that we're requesting doesn't make us whole. It keeps us from sinking. If I can just identify that.
No, I just want to make sure that we're clear on what it actually takes. And some of what your requirements aren't even being addressed because of these mandates or regulatory requirements or the need for an additional part-time person.
That's correct.
So,
Yes, sir.
okay. Just want to make sure that was clear. Thank you.
And again, we will get back if you want clarification. Michelle would be more than happy to get back with you or Amy.
Just let me know what form you want that in.
We want to make sure we answer all the questions.
Just a quick comment I'll make to my fellow commissioners. I know I'm leaving the Board of County Commissioners in a short time, but I would like to advocate one more time to consider the Commission on Aging's request. If staff needs to get with the Commission on Aging to better understand how their budget works, how their obligations to federal or state government works and the reporting requirements, it sounds like there's a disconnect there that just feeds bad information back to the county commissioners and doesn't allow this body to make the right decisions. There is a request of $250,000, multi-year request, and while it was said this morning that that's an unwise commitment to future, it's unwise to commit future boards, that was done with the Humane Society just 2 years ago when we did a 10-year contract that committed this current board, but 2 future boards. And I would also say that we make decisions all the time that commit future boards whenever we pay an employee an increased salary, when we give more money, when we give it a raise across the board. That's a commitment that's borne by future boards as well, expenses that will increase for them too. So just keep that in mind. I would I would just ask staff to do some homework and commissioners to, make those considerations. Precedent is set all the time with committee future boards. That's all I have.
Anyone else?
Our most important goal, however, is that 250,000 this year. That's probably number one. And before I go, I'd like to wish you the best, Commissioner Kiefer. I want to thank you for the years that you served as our county commissioner representative and advocate for the Commission on Aging. It does not go without appreciation, and I want to make sure you know that as you're leaving the board here, okay?
And I echo those sentiments. Thank you, Wayne, for everything you've done to advocate. Thank you. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you for your time. Much appreciated.
Nice presentation for the seniors. Hurrah, hurrah.
Next item is Maryland 911 Board approval to submit application and accept awarded funding.
Good morning, Richard Lesh, Grant Manager, Office of Grant Management.
Alan Matheny, Director of Emergency Management Communications.
We are here this morning to recommend or request a motion to approve the submission of a grant application to the Maryland 911 Board in the amount of $74,741 and accept the funding as awarded for annual maintenance costs for the NICE system, N-I-C-E. The NICE system is a critical 911 recording platform. The system is essential to the 911 operations, ensuring that all emergency calls are accurately recorded and stored for quality assurance, training, and legal purposes. The annual maintenance of the NICE system is crucial to ensure the continual functionality, reliability, and security supporting the seamless operation of emergency services. Without proper funding for this maintenance, the 911 call center risks potential disruptions to their ability to respond effectively to emergencies which could impact public safety.
Discussion? Motion?
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval as submitted. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Randy, step
Thank you.
down.
Thank you.
Next item, Maryland Administrative Office of the Courts, Department of Juvenile and Family Services, approval to apply.
Richard Lesh, Grant Manager, Office of Grant Management.
Good morning, Kristen Gross-Nichols, Circuit Court Administrator.
We are here to request a motion to approve the application and acceptance of funds in the amount of $442,809 for Circuit Court Family Support Services funding. Each court within the state of Maryland is required by Maryland Rules 16-307 to have a Family Support Services Division to implement the goals and objectives set forth by the DJFS. Services funded through the grant include salary and fringe benefits for both Family Services Coordinator and Permanency Planning Liaison, Family Law Self-Help Clinic, and when funding is available, ADR, medication, co-parenting classes, education classes, and custody evaluations. Children's best interest attorneys, mental health evaluations, parenting coordinators, substance abuse evaluations, and supervised visitation services. That's a long sentence.
Questions, comments, motion? Okay, we have a motion. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve as submitted. All in favor by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign, 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item is rejection of bid 1719, Sharpsburg wastewater treatment backwash pump replacement.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brandy Kentner, Purchasing Director.
Mark Bradshaw, Director of Environmental Management.
The recommendation I have for you this morning is the rejection of bid PUR 1719, Sharpsburg Water Treatment Plant Backwash Pump Replacement. Move to take action in the best interest of the county to request the bid for the Sharpsburg Water Treatment Plant backwash pump replacement be rejected due to the submitted bids not meeting the specification within the solicitation. The department, along with the purchasing department, will make the changes to the documentation, and we do request approval to re-advertise. The bid was advertised on the State of Maryland's eMaryland Marketplace, the county's website, the new county's online bidding site, and the local newspaper. 26 companies downloaded the document, and we did receive the two. After reviewing the two, it was determined by the using department that they did not meet the specification within the solicitation. And the reasoning is in here. Basically, one company provided a pump that wasn't equal to the one within the specification, and the other company didn't provide the seals necessary for the job. So again, we're asking for permission to reject and to re-advertise.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second to reject the bid. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. With that, I'd like to ask for a motion to go into closed session for update from county attorney and on effect of certain legislation and county-involved litigation.
Motion to go into closed session for purposes so stated.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. 5-minute recess.